Hey, House District 35 Representative Ty Burns here. I want to give you an update at the Capitol. This week will be our last week of session, and we've came in and run a lot of budget bills. And as you guys have seen in the news, that the budget's been the biggest controversy that we've been talking about. And again, it is the number one constitutional responsibility we have in the House of Representatives and as the legislator to pass. And so this week we're doing all the budget bills, and we got a good budget bill. So I want to give you a little bit of updates on that and see exactly what some of the benefits that came out that we really needed to address in the state. But first I want to talk about, I did my first commencement speech this year at Pawnee, which is my alma mater, and it was really an honor to talk to the graduates of the class of 2024. And I want to thank the Pawnee Public School Administration for allowing me that opportunity. And I had a graduate of the 2024, my daughter, number 2 of 5, had just graduated Morrison. And so congratulations, Madison. I love you and thank you for all the good years that you had, and go conquer the world. All right, so just a little update on my session, how it's kind of went for the whole 59th legislature. And just to throw some numbers out there at you, is I filed 37 bills, which doesn't mean that I ran all these bills. There was only 30 that was actually active. In the House, we can only run 8 that we can actually run through the process. So as we're wrapping up the 59th legislative session, I want to give you a little breakdown of what I've done for the district and the state. And I filed 37 bills. I had 30 that were active, 1 failed committee. I had 1 do not pass in my own committee, by the way, which was an experience that I've never had. I had 3 vetoed by the governor, and I had 7 passed. Again, when we start talking about the numbers and pushing things through, trying to be effective down here is running good legislation that benefits the state and the district as a whole. And a little disappointed on some of the bills that didn't get passed. We're looking like trying to override a couple vetoes. But some of the big ones that I have got done as the chairman of the Wildlife Committee, I sponsored the Senate Bill 1941, which was the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife license bill. And this was something I ran for 4 years. And it took a little bit of tactics to get this done, but we got it done. And it's a big bill for the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife. And when we start talking about protecting, preserving, and promoting hunting, fishing, and the wildlife in the state of Oklahoma, it'll be a very big impact on the department. So really happy to get that one passed. Another one, a little sad but really exciting to me, is House Bill 3803, which I put in the omnibus bill for the Memorial Bridge for my best friend from high school, James Lester Holt. It was signed into law, and we'll be looking at doing something in November in the district to honor that. Another one that I actually got in there, which I haven't told him yet, but we did Charlie Hanger a memorial mile for him at the mile marker that he arrested Timothy McVeigh. And so those are 2 kind of in-district stuff that I was really proud to get across the finish line, and look forward to honoring those later on this fall when it comes around. Another House bill that I had that was sitting there for a while was the Morrison Ag in the Classroom teachers that got with me and Senator Hall, and they came together and they had the idea to make the soybean the state legume. And it took us a couple years to get it passed, and we finally got it signed by the governor, and the new state legume is the soybean. And so I thank all the teachers and the Ag in the Classroom members at Morrison and around the state that have done things. And this is a cool little deal that you'll be able to see to promote some of the ag stuff in the state. But your new state legume is the soybean. Another one that I had vetoed, I ran a couple times, is the OHS fleet exemption, which was vetoed again, and we're looking at trying to override it. And the whole point of this is just trying to get, Pawnee Bills is trying to get, it's a working ranch. We have bison there, and we're trying to feed cattle with, not new vehicles. And so we try to open up the exemption process. The governor vetoed it again. So we're going to see what we can do there. One of the biggest things on the budget we always try and do is make sure that we put some money back and be conservative in days when we have money. And it's important to note that we will have $4.6 billion in savings. And again, this seems like a bunch of money, but again, it would not fund the budget for 1 year. And so obviously that's something that we need to look forward to, and helping in those downturns and the rainy days, that we have enough money that we don't have to cut a bunch of core services. So even though it looks like we got a bunch of money saved, we still need to get more in there. And I'm really proud that we do this every year. 5% of the budget that's allocated for us to spend, we put into savings. This year we appropriated $6.4 billion in this state's budget. A lot of it stayed flat, which the governor called for in his State of the State. And so we tried to honor that and stayed relatively flat. And obviously having hard times, there's a little bit of downturn in our economy because of some of the hard times. One of the biggest things we tried to get in the House is the income tax cut. And it didn't get passed. I know it was a big part of the negotiation process. We did get the grocery tax eliminated for the state portion. Another thing is the House Budget Transparency Portal for the budget, which was a new deal that we did this year where you can actually get online and you can see every number that I'm talking about right there at the Oklahoma House website. So if you want to jump into the budget a little deeper, make sure and check that out. So jumping into the education portion, there was $16.1 million on the teacher pay raise that was from last year that ended up being messed up for the schools that are not on the formula. And so we had to go back and supplement that for $16.1 million. That is a one-time fund for those schools to pay their teachers that are not on the funding formula. Another exciting one was, the $2.6 million we put in for paying student teachers. I know when I did my student teaching, it's one of those things that any money that you can get in college and you're spending a lot of time at these schools learning and you don't have time to go to a job. And so that's a really cool benefit, again, to get teachers into the workforce and get them in the classroom and hopefully inspire people to go become teachers. And one of the big bonuses, we put $25 million more into the funding formula this year, and the whole entire budget for the education that we appropriated was $5.59 billion. And $3.8 billion of that went to the Oklahoma State Department of Education, which is our K through 12. And so, again, education taking up most of the budget. It's very important, and we know we take pride in funding public education in this state. Another big one that I thought was important was the mental health. Obviously, with the COVID coming off that and seeing having 5 children as well, and seeing some of the stress and pressures that come from the mental health and a lot of things that are put on young kids at a way younger age becomes mentally exhausting. And so the mental health is something that's very important to us in the state, and we're willing to invest in that. And you can see it we did $18.5 million in additional funding for the Department of Mental Health to address children's mental health needs. And the whole mental health department got a 7% increase. And so they're bringing the total to $383 million that we funded the mental health. Obviously, we understand the importance of mental health and the crisis that it does within our prisons, our education system, and the family nucleus. And so we want to get in there and address that. There are resources out there for anybody that has any mental health issues. Make sure you guys are looking out for your family and your members that need this, and point them in the right direction. Another one that I'm really behind, I don't like why we had to do this, because again, once you start talking about the state funding some of the things at the local level, it becomes problematic, I think, in the future, but it's something we got to keep our eye out on. Funding law enforcement is truly important to every city, every county, and every state. It's the first line of defense against anything that's bad that happened to the citizens, and protection of the citizens is the government's number one responsibility in my mind. And so we created a sheriff's department revolving fund, which this was $18 million. And again, I'm not a fan of why we had to do this because the local areas can't fund this. But I know how important it is. When I was a sheriff's deputy, I was bringing home right around $1,100 a month. And you can't live on that, and we understand that. And it's important to have protection in these counties. And so we created the revolving fund for that. It's called the Oklahoma Sheriff's Office Funding Assistance Grant Program. And this allows sheriff's deputies to be paid anywhere from $19,000 to $50,000. And then the sheriff's making $44,000 to $75,000. Again, giving you a big boost that's needed in these local sheriff's departments. Again, my background being a veteran and the military being very important to me. And I always look at the funding that we did for the state and for the military department. And this year we're funding it at $22.6 million. And so this is a downturn from last year. But again, some of the retention and some of the things we have in the state and the 45th the Oklahoma National Guard, the 45th Infantry Brigade, is truly important to me. And so making sure that's funded is always something that I look at in the budget. And one of the big things that we're talking about is drone warfare. We gave $500,000 for this. Obviously, the battlefield is changing, becoming even more asymmetrical. And you can see it with the Ukraine war and all the drone warfare. And we went to Camp Gruber, and we're trying to build a facility for, drone attacks and the drone training in the military in general. And so we're trying to push and be the first one in the state to kind of harbor a lot of this training and get a good jump on the rest of the nation. And we funded it appropriately, and so I'm excited to see where that goes. Another one for rural Oklahoma, obviously with CERB and the rural infrastructure being super important to me, that one of the ones that they were trying to do away with was lake access funding, which is truly important for rural communities to try and get some of the tourism that's coming. A lot of us only have lakes where we're at. I know Pawnee County itself has 5 lakes. So you get a lot of people come in and tearing up roads. And so some people were talking about not funding the Lake Road fund this year. And I'll be happy to tell you that we did fund it at $6.2 million. And so that's something we can use in rural Oklahoma to help our infrastructure and some of the higher trafficked area within tourism and the lake areas. So as we wrap up this session, again, I want to thank everybody that's reached out to my office, came up here and seen me. Again, it's an honor to be your representative for House District 35, and I look forward to the next 2 years of serving you. If there's anything I can do, please don't hesitate to reach out. Have a good summer. Thank you, and God bless.